It is the John.
It's time for the best 60 minutes of your life. This is the Homer Hour, broadcasting live from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studio at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Alongside ESPN's John Anderson, here's Emmy Award winner Homer.
It is the John Anderson Homer Hour. I don't think I can be quiet for the whole time. But if you want to talk about the Packers, I need your help again. I got another problem. Well, first you thought I said...
Are you having trouble keeping up with all the free agent signings again?
That was very rude. I said I made the mistake of not saying Goody will get some people, but that you've never heard of. And he did it again. That was the perfect analysis. All right, comment on, he got two guys. Maybe you'd heard of them. Had you ever heard of these guys?
Not much, but that's okay. Maybe that's what if it's filling a need, then it's filling a need. I think some of the people that Packer fans had targeted and hoped, mainly like a Garrett or Crosby or Higgins, all of a sudden they all got deals and franchise. So I don't know that there's a big name out there to be had that you really want. Maybe people wanted Devontae Adams back, but other than that, I just don't know that there was anything out there right now that is that splashy. So, and he's had guys like that before where he's put them together and they've been significant contributors. But I just don't know that there's a person out there now in free agency that people would go, yes, thank goodness we got that guy. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but I don't think so.
The guy from the Bengals, is it Hendrickson? The guy doesn't seem to make any sense. He gets a lot of sacks. I don't know why I tend to think if all it is money, then get whoever you want. But that's not how Goody rolls. No one can really say they're surprised. You're not surprised, right? It is
not
gone
his
about.
Style. It's always funny, right? Other teams are like, oh, look, they've cleared this cap space. They have all this money. They're going to go ahead, and now they can just go crazy. I don't know that the Packers have all the cap space in the world, and I don't know that would alter their philosophy on what they're doing. They, on occasion, I guess, when they have done it, right? Jacobs got done right away, and Kenny got done right away. And so I don't think if they're ready to make a splash there, then they're just going to here and there what fits and what works. But they're not a team that, regardless if they have zeros of cash or hundreds of millions, doesn't appear to make any real difference in their decision-making process. I think it's got to be the right guy. And, last year they found two, and this year there's just nobody. And again, part of that, I think, is because some of the people that might have been inviting targets never made it to market or were off the market quickly.
I don't say this in hopes of you approving, because I know you never do anything just to approve anyway. But I'm always irritated by any discussion about, the Packers were in the running. I don't care. And in fact, I don't think it's of any benefit whatsoever. It may help you learn about your GM a little bit, but if you don't get the player, what benefit is it? Everybody's a little disappointed that Goody didn't apparently have any communication with Devontae Adams. And Brian Bulaga said, as a player, you probably would have liked him to call and say, we're not interested, or even, I guess so as a player, but aside from the personal thing, because you played for that team and did well, I don't care. All I care about is when you get someone. But I will defer to you on that. I have a different view.
No, I think there's two things. When you attach something like that, when you don't get them, obviously is one, the part of the disappointment. But then people got to know why. Like, why? Did we not offer it? Or were we cheap? What happened? Why didn't they like Green Bay? And then two, if you don't get that guy, you still have guys in the locker room that went like, geez, you went out and tried to replace me. Right? Like, so I think there's two things in there that don't go great when you're, so yeah, I'd rather keep things really quiet and not know that I've been in the running or not, Literally, I just found out the other day. I had on Sunday night I was having dinner with friends, and the football coach happened to be there, so we were visiting. And he's like, and my buddy said, how close were we, being Missouri, to getting Jaden Daniels? And I'm like, we were in the running for Jaden Daniels, and apparently they had a deal in place. It was all set. He'd visited, done the whole thing, and then LSU came and swamped him with money. But I'm like, wait, I could have had the Heisman Trophy winner. How different is my life if that guy's here? You know? And so that's what his whole senior year, his whole LSU year and this year, and it's 2 years down there. And now I'm really disappointed to find that out. So, yeah, I think it's better to find out that, like, maybe we're completely inactive and didn't do anything unless you get the guy. But that's like anything. Like, it's just, you know, I had a friend of mine that said, it looks like Aaron's going to sign with the Vikings, or he thinks he is. But I'm like, okay, who cares? He doesn't play for me anymore. Go where you want to go.
Whoa.
Go wherever you want to go.
No, he's now in the division. If he's playing, he's relative and important because you're going against him. I still think he's going to go to Pittsburgh, but I don't.
I do too. But I just, my point is, I guess, yes, you can, but I just don't care. Like, if you're not here, then it's your job and you got to go find where work is and you go wherever. And I don't think he's out to screw the Packers like I think Favre wanted to stick it to him. You know, but it's, I'm very it sounds funny, right? Like, it's like you got to build relationships. It can't be transactional. When it comes to player, it's all just transactional. Here it is. Go play where you got to play. It's fine with me. And if I got to deal with you, I'll deal with you. But it's, you know, if you're not on my team, then it doesn't really affect how badly I worry about where you end up.
I prove again you're nicer than me. My answer to Rodgers has been he's dead to me. Dead. Now, if he plays against the Packers, he becomes relevant only because everything is important to me as it relates to the Green Bay Packers.
Sure.
He played against them with Pittsburgh then in that particular game. But it has been suggested to come up with something a little more subtle than dead. And I said, no, that fits. Dead.
That is subtle. Here it is. Yeah. It's over.
And when he comes back to Green Bay and is honored, and then he's alive again. But
okay.
I'm like you. Why would I care what he does?
Yeah.
Now, maybe if you, like with Favre, when you get rid of somebody, then whether or not that was a good decision relates to how good the GM is. I do want to go back to Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
And I do this because maybe you can help. That kind of a discussion is much different now until you find out what the difference in the money was.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'll let you be the judge. The kid Con Knipple, who is from Milwaukee, is now at Duke. Yeah. My source said that Duke offered Wisconsin 4 times as much money. I would never really feel that we had a chance for it. I don't know what the number is. Twice as much? 3 times? Yeah, we had a chance. If it's 4 times as much, 220 or 2.5, I'd never really feel that we were in on the running now. So I don't know what the story is with Daniels, but I could see that it might have been twice as much given LSU.
It was significantly more than that. Like, right. It was an extra comma. So.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that makes a difference, in how they went. But, well, listen, if Aaron goes to the Steelers, then they play him once, not twice, right? The question I have is, so once they, like, is Devontae Adams dead to you? What determines if they're dead or they're just like, oh, I guess they don't play here anymore? Like, if
they play in the division, then they're a force to deal with.
No, I'm just saying that, like, if we release, when Mason Crosby got released, was he dead to you then?
Yes.
And then he went to the Giants? Okay, so as long as you don't play for us, I don't. Now, it was nice of them to sign him back. He's alive again, right? He had a big comeback.
No,
because they signed him for a day.
That's one of the pieces of crap I hate more than anything. Okay,
not really retiring as a Packer to you?
No, I have suggested that they allow all fans to retire as a Packer. For example, for $1,000, $5,000, I get a piece of paper that says I retired as a Packer, and I have a jersey with whatever number or whatever they can do with my name on it. Look it. Mason Crosby finished his career with the Giants. right? I think he did.
Yep.
Okay, he can retire as a, I don't know, citizen of Greenland. That doesn't mean, you need to live in Greenland. I can't believe that a player appreciates that and think it is of some value. If I was Mason Crosby, I'd come back and go, yeah, thanks for dumping on me, and then I had to go finish my career with the Giants. You really wanted to retire my jersey, I'd have finished my career here, and I could still play, and you dumped my butt. Drop the mic and walk out of the room. But they love this phoniness. As hard as it is to play in the NFL, as incredibly special as that is, you're elite. Now they throw him a bone and you take it? All right, maybe he's worried.
Maybe he's worried he can't come back to old timers day if he doesn't sign to come back and feel like a Packer. I will say this, okay? So this is kind of the thing that always has troubled me, especially with the Packer organization as we get tied to these people. Because I do think, listen, if we're standing on ceremony and if you're feeling like you're kind of making it right with that guy and you're squaring him with the franchise, I'm good with that. The one I hate is when, like, people are so offended. How could Brett go play anywhere else? How could Aaron go play anywhere else? Like, name me a great Packer, and I'll tell you where he finished a career, because it wasn't in Green Bay. Jimmy Taylor went to the Saints. Vince Lombardi went to the Redskins. Freaking Lambeau went to the Cardinals. Forrest Gregg was a Cowboy. Herb Adderley was a Cowboy. Like, the landscape is, we make this sound like this is a new thing. Like, I can't believe it. The history is littered with the best Packer players. Paul Hornung, although he never played there, he got drafted by New Orleans too. And like, that happens all the time. And somehow more recently, I guess maybe fandom's tighter. Fandom is more 24/7 than it used to be. But like, name a great Packer. Reggie White ended up going to play in Carolina. Like, the number of people that are Bart Starr or Leroy Butler is really, really rare. It happens the other way. And it's transactional in that regard. It's a business. So but we seem to get more offended by some people than others, or we've just, as it gets by, we forgot that some of these other people, that Forrest Gregg was a Cowboy, So I'm always troubled by the people that get so offended when they move on.
I believe that you gave the best example, and I had never thought of it. You have the Vince Lombardi trophy. He didn't even finish with that team. There's nobody that can be accused of violating whatever this rule is greater than Vince Lombardi. Vince Lombardi. How can he coach somewhere else? We know the answer. If my information is correct, they made him part owner, a very small part.
Yeah.
They make me part owner of something. I'm going there today. All right. I want to go back to what I alluded to but didn't get to it, where I need your assistance. So we will then go to the second quarter next.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on 94.5 ESPN.
We do still have some pretty hefty delays. Northbound 4394 heading over the high-rise bridge into the Marquette and continuing all the way up to Keefe. On the southbound side, slowing down from North Avenue all the way down through and over the high-rise bridge. We got northbound on 41 dealing with this accident just before Burleigh, off on the right shoulder, but the delays are all the way back to Blue Mound Road. Southbound on 41 from Appleton Avenue down past Capitol Drive. That's where you're going to see those delays. Traffic is brought to you by Snow River Mountain Resort in Michigan's UP. Over 125 inches of pure natural powder this season. Visit snowriver.com to book now. Snow River Mountain Resort, where the snow stays longer and the lines move faster. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low of 32. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high of 45 at the lake, 53 inland. Weather's brought to you by National Liquor Mart at 16th and National in Milwaukee. Packed with the best beer, liquor, seltzer, and spirit deals in town. Open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily, where your satisfaction is their plan of action. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
Untethered, unfiltered, and unbothered. Kyle Bruston Nortman, KBN.
You fight too many battles,
I fight a lot of battles. Yeah, I fight, but it's not just her. I fought battles with my mama. And looking at this Nike shirt, you know what my mother gave me for Christmas? A Nike shirt. And I said, Mama, I love you, but I got way too many T-shirts. You can take that back.
You did that to your own mother?
Kyle Bruston Nortman, KBN. Weekdays from 2 to 5, right here on 94.5 ESPN. And subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts.
An ESPN Radio Extra Point with Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman.
Aaron Glenn is clearly prioritizing culture, and he's looking at Justin Fields as somebody that can be an extension of the coaching staff in terms of helping to set the agenda for the locker room and not something that the head coach and the rest of the coaching staff has to overcome. Nobody's going to have to put out fires because of what Justin Fields says during the course of the week. Nobody is going to have to do damage control because of his comments offhand in the postgame. Nobody's going to have to worry about Justin Fields taking off, not being at mandatory minicamp because he wants to go on a trip to Africa. Nobody's going to have to worry about that. This guy's going to do things the right way. From a culture standpoint, he's going to allow Aaron Glenn to build the type of program that can lead to sustained success. That's probably the most important quality that Justin Fields is bringing to the party for the New York Jets.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
When you don't compromise on the court, you shouldn't compromise off of it either. Lose the calories, not the taste. Michelob Ultra, superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. Copyright 2024.
Hey, Bucks fans, enjoy Michelob Ultra at Champs Americana in Brookfield, the Sandlots of Salem in Salem Lakes, Kelly's Bleachers Big Bend, Magoo's on the Mound in Milwaukee, and Curly's Waterfront Sports Bar and Grill in Pewaukee. Michelob Ultra, proud sponsor of the Milwaukee Bucks.
This is the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
The second quarter of the John Anderson Homer Hour, we're discussing the Packers, and in a previous show, you thought I was a little too positive about the Packers and just the upcoming season. Like, I'm ready to go. And then I realized that I was kind of lying to you. Deep down, I think they have a good coach. I think they have a good GM. I think they have a good quarterback. None of them are special, and I don't see a trip to the Super Bowl possible unless something dramatically changed in terms of a player joining the team, being on the team now, who becomes, as Ron Wolford said, a field tilter. And I think destiny for the Packers is to be good, but not good enough. I've compared LaFleur to Steve Mariucci in the past, but I think it's more just a whole organization. Who's special that gets you over the top? And I look at other teams in the NFC, and they're just teams that the Packers are a 7 seed. Maybe they'll get to be a 5 seed. And I don't want that opinion because it's so negative, and it means every year we're going through an entire regular season to get to the playoffs so that Homer can see if he's right and they win. And it just, I don't want to go into every season thinking that. So I need a John Anderson positive lie or something.
By the way, we don't know each other well because that's not where people go for to feel better about themselves. Is come to me to tilt it. I'm the guy that after a loss, I just go, I hate everybody. Let's just blow the whole thing up.
I'm willing to take the chance because I don't know if I'm going to get your salt or your sugar. I mean, still, those who know you better would say, Homer, you got some salt coming. Sorry, he ain't changing just because of you.
Oh, I would say that no, you look like you need help, so I'm here to help and support in those causes. The only thing I would say this first, I think Love still has a chance to be that guy. And so we'll see if after next year, if next year goes like this past year, then you're like, okay, we've made an investment, and was that the wisest investment? But I think there's a chance, and if your quarterback improves, if your quarterback's got a chance and he's special, then you've got your field tilter. So he's potentially, I still think he could be that guy. I'm hoping he is. How about that? I'm not giving up on the idea that Jordan Love can be what we think he's going to be, or we hope he's going to be. In which case, we got a bunch. The problem I have with your deal is, if that's what it is, how do you change it? Because you're not in a draft position and you're just there. And so, do you go, okay, we've decided now Love isn't the guy. Do you start what would you do to change things on the fly to get that? Or are you just sort of hoping you have a 3-13 season somewhere where you get to draft Jaden Daniels or somebody that could be there like that? So, if it's the old thing, if something is inevitable, and its inevitability is we're not going to win a Super Bowl, it's just inevitable that we don't have the talent, then what do you do to correct it? Because you might as well correct it today instead of waiting a year or 2 or 3 for it, so that you have that opportunity. So where do we correct this thing? What would you do to solve this? That's the issue I have.
All right. Excellent question. I knew I'd get it. And I would kind of mention the 49ers. They seem to be doing it appears they've decided it's over, and now we're just going to get rid of everybody. Which leads me to, I've always said that it's about the general manager. The only way it would change is if the general manager, Goody, made some outstanding decisions. We know he's not a gambler, right? He doesn't make these, so I don't think he's going to change. So I would have to say they need to get a new general manager. But I don't think he's weak enough that I feel like I have to do it immediately. I guess I'm saying I'm willing to give him 2 more years.
Mm-hmm.
This group.
Well, that's the thing, right? The 49ers at least have gone to 2 Super Bowls. They didn't win them, but now they're looking at, that they've got to fit people in, their contracts come due, because that'll happen to the Packers soon enough. There are going to be guys that they're going to be due money if they do well enough. At the moment, it doesn't look like they're going to pay out to anybody. But we keep talking about this young team and let them growing to something and see what they come to fruition is. And I think you got to do that, right? We can prune a little bit, but at some point you got to give them a season or 2 to grow. And so the first one we went, wow, that was surprising. And they beat the Cowboys. So we gave them last year to grow. They really didn't, aphids or something, and prevented it. And so but I think you got to give them a year or 2 to see if they can grow. It's kind of like when they say, this program is a sleeping giant. Well, what if it takes, you got to hit the snooze button a couple of times to get it out of bed, or you need a bigger alarm clock. So I think that the people they have, I don't feel appreciably different about them, going into this season than I did last season, other than there's a way more to prove than they did last year. Last year was like, okay, you were great. Let's see if you can grow and be better. And this year you're like, okay, you guys didn't show me that. And now if that's 2 years in a row, then I think you do have to start making some changes within there, because now we have, you have kind of seen maybe what the ceiling is, and it's here, and it's not where we thought it was here, And
I have to admit, they improved. They got a couple of McKinney and Jacobs were both additions. Jacobs versus Jones. I don't know how big that is, but they made some good moves there. He's drafted better. They certainly didn't get a weaker defensive coordinator. It would seem to be he's as good. So, but something's got to happen. The question I pose to you. So who's special? Because you look back on those Packer teams that won Super Bowls, they had special. And it wasn't special that you didn't realize it was special until that year. You knew Clay Matthews was special. You knew Woodson was special. Maybe that's a little. You knew Rodgers was special, though he was still pretty young. Who do you know on this team is special? And I want to say McKinney or Jacobs, but I don't say it very strongly.
No, it's like the whole, like, no, that guy, that if there's a Hall of Very Good, he should be in it, but he's not in the Hall of Fame, right? Too many people want to put people in the Hall of Fame, and you're like, I watched that guy. He was good. He could be in the Hall of Very Good, but he's not in the Hall of Fame. And I think right now we've got a lot of people that could be in the Hall of Very Good, and I'm with you. I don't know who's the Hall of Famer in there that's going to be, because as you look at those teams that win Super Bowls, eventually have Hall of Famers on them, right? Some are really worthy, and then some get in because they were, Hall of Fame adjacent, and so their very good gets bumped up. But I don't know exactly. Yeah, I don't know right now who's headed to the Hall of Fame on that, and you need a couple of those guys before you're going to win it all, for sure. And I don't know right now where the Canton fellas, the Canton talent is on that team yet.
And I thought LaFleur might be the special because of his ability to run an offense. Mm-hmm. And then last year, you get this great running back, Jacobs, and all of a sudden, none of the receivers are open again. So, and then it's like, well, we got to figure things out. No, you were the Hall of Fame guy who had it figured out before everybody else. Yeah. This is pretty basic in terms of, I want to let you know that of last season, I am most disappointed in LaFleur, and it's not even close because I never thought this would happen after he gets this running back that we can run the ball down people's throats, and we do that. You think he's going like, this is over. We can win the Super Bowl now because we can move the ball. They can't stop us. And then nobody's open. So it's either him or the receivers weren't as good, and and
it's funny, right? Because last week I told you of the three guys, like I think LaFleur's the guy I trust the most right now, even though the player will have the most, the players eventually are the guys that do it. But I don't think there's any question that he needs to coach better this year than he did last year. Or then you say, okay, these guys aren't as good as we thought, because he has his track record where he won a bunch of games with those people. But then it's like, but he also won with, 12 at quarterback until the end. So it's
you haven't helped me much, sir.
No, I told you. Well, I'm trying, but I'm not salty about it. I only get salty in season. Out of season is when I recharge my batteries and get better. It's only, I give them all the benefit of the doubt. And then when they happen, it don't. Yeah. It's like my NCAA tournament picks. I don't know if you knew this. My bracket is perfect every year. And that is not my fault that the teams cannot play up to my lofty expectations for them and sometimes lose the game. So right now I am all excited, with the pack. Like right now I'm like, okay, I'm ready to be boundless optimism. It's like spring training. I got my taxes, and the Brewers always win the World Series. It's not till the end when it doesn't always turn out that way.
I certainly pushed Cooper and have hopes for him, but I even think I oversold that, but it has to be a young player. I thought Jaden Reed was going to be the guy, and then he disappeared. And when you were special, the few times I can remember special receivers, they never disappear. They don't have games as great, but they're always out there, and you can tell the other team is worried about them. There were games, I'm not sure the defense even cared if he was on the field. Come on.
Right. But that goes, I think there was a lot of that. We talked about that during the season. Like some of that is coaching. You got to find a way to if you think he's one of your best players, you have to find a way to put the ball in his hands. That is your job. When I saw our football coach the other day, Missouri's best player is a fellow named Luther Burden III. Okay. He's going to get drafted in the first round. Wide receiver, really talented kid. He wore number 3. And I said to him, I feel like you could have won almost any game with 3 plays. And he's like, what 3 plays are those? I'm like, no. Just number 3 plays, just for him. And I don't know who that guy is. Maybe it is, Jacobs. But I think if you're the coach and you have a guy that you think that's that guy, then you got to find ways to put it in his hands, right? We got to have more jet sweeps. We got to, throw him something in space, whatever. But I feel like you can, you've got a whole playbook. You got to figure out, you have to have ways to get guys open. The more jarring thing is you kind of touched on it and let it go is nobody's open. Like for a while guys were running wide open, or I watch other plays. I watch the Packers when the defense gets carved up. And I'm like, how is it they ran a play where there's no one within 6 yards of him? And we didn't have a lot of those. I want some dudes running free. I want the play action pass by Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson is 12 yards behind a guy. I need those plays in my life to feel better about things. By the way, yeah, you're making my life more miserable than I'm helping improve yours.
I think the answer to that is Christian Watson, because he has been that open. Now he's hurt, though I did have a member of the Institute say, Homer, this is why I wonder about Jordan Love, because how many of those long passes was the pass thrown short and the guy had to come back? It was pass interference. I said, I don't know. There have to be some that look good, but I haven't really come up with many. But yes, he's the guy. I mean, he gets open. He can.
Yeah, we got to stay on the field. I'm with you. I think of all the guys, they underuse him the most. Reed tantalized us because they used him a lot, and he was used a lot because Watson, last 2 seasons just missed so much. Well, his whole career, he's just missed so much time.
He was actually healthy. I'm just telling you when I say that they do. But now you worry about it. He's going to be out for a while, and you wonder if he's ever going to be the same, right?
Yeah, I think he'll be back. Yeah, I think it's not quite like you pitcher with his UCL surgery and suddenly you gain 3 miles on your fastball. But I think he'll come back in a reasonably good position. But he is a huge difference maker. And so, but yeah, go find that guy. I don't know. They have more holes to draft than I thought they did, at the start of last season. You thought everything was covered pretty good. And now you're like, okay, we need another edge rusher. We're going to need an offensive line person. You're going to need a cornerback. It feels like they have way more needs than they did a year ago, even if I'm optimistic.
Right. They may have taken care of a couple of things. All right, we're going to break and then we'll get to the third quarter. This is the John Anderson Homer Hour, third quarter, next.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on 94.5 ESPN.
Northbound 43, a hefty ride over the high-rise bridge all the way up to Keefe. Southbound, slowing down from just basically through the Marquette interchange over the high-rise. You're back on the brakes from the base of the high-rise all the way down to the KK River crossing. Westbound 94, slowing from 16th Street all the way to Mitchell Boulevard. Eastbound is a bit tight from 76th Street all the way through to 35th. We've also got an incident on the ramp from northbound 894 to eastbound 94 in the Zoo interchange. So watch out for that as a bit of a distraction. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 32. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high of 45 at the lakefront, 53 inland. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
Great impressions will exceed your expectations. Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
At Great Impressions Graphics and Printing, they've been proudly serving the community for over 26 years. From their location at the corner of 54th and Burleigh in Milwaukee, their dedication to quality and customer satisfaction has made them a trusted name in printing and design. Great Impressions offer a wide range of services, including banners, posters, yard signs, business cards, programs, and postcards. Plus, they specialize in custom apparel printing, perfect for family reunions, sports outings, business promotions, and more. For your next project, visit greatimpress.com. That's greatimpress.com. Great Impressions. They're here when you need them.
Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
So many of our youth carry unimaginable burdens. Anger, depression, even thoughts of suicide. At Rawhide Youth Services, we recognize their pain. We help them find hope and healing. For those that need a second chance at life, we refuse to give up on them. Please be a part of our life-saving work. When you donate your used vehicle to Rawhide, you're helping change the lives of countless youth in our communities. Go to rawhide.org/donate and help them realize a brighter future today.
Hey, it's ESPN Wisconsin's Brad Nortman, and you may be wondering if you are a good candidate for QC Kinetics. If you're having pain in your knees, your hips, your shoulders, or your back, maybe having trouble sleeping or doing the things that you love doing, then yes, you could be a great candidate for QC Kinetics and the regenerative medicine. I know when I went to QC Kinetics and saw everything they have with my own two eyes, I was blown away at the tools in their toolkit to make sure that you get your life back. PRP, platelets, plasma, and they have so much they can do to give you your life back. From all the testimonials I've heard and from what I've seen with my own two eyes, it is unbelievable to see the before and after impact of QC Kinetics and their regenerative medicine. So don't wait any longer. Finally, get your life back as spring is unfolding. Get your free consultation today with QC Kinetics at 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
It's ESPN Milwaukee's Kyle Walls for Universal Windows Direct. The tax time sale is going on now, and they'll make your wallet even happier by paying no interest until 2030. Schedule your free in-home estimate today.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
This is the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
1, 2, you know what to do.
Now the third quarter, and I still haven't resolved my issue of I don't want people to know that I think this because then it's, Homer, you're so negative. Yeah, but they're going to make the playoffs. I think they can win a game in the playoffs. I can't find anything really special. Now we get to the rest of the division. I'm not worried about the rest of the division, but I am impressed that Chicago did the right thing in terms of, and I'm sure it's their head coach, before I can judge how good this quarterback is, I got to have an offensive line that doesn't get him killed. And I think they did exactly what they had to do, and they did it very quickly. I don't know that I'm saying the question, the Packers going to finish fourth in the division. No. Why? They just won't. John Anderson will have a reason why, but they just won't. But
I'm the guy that's going to put him in the cellar? Thanks a lot.
No, you would. I was hoping you would come up with a reason. I don't feel comfortable doing it. You would simply say, hey, I can pick them fourth. If they're the fourth best, doesn't mean I like it, but I don't have any difficulty doing that. I don't really have a reason. I think you would need a better reason than the one I gave as to why they won't finish fourth, because they won't.
Can I circle back real quick about the special?
Yes.
Think about the team that won the Super Bowl. Those guys showed themselves special eventually, but that team at the start of the year nobody thought was a Super Bowl team.
Correct.
And even halfway through the team. So sometimes special shows itself and you know, it pops up, and then afterwards you're like, wow, okay, those guys all turned out to be kind of special. With the exception of Woodson was a guy you totally knew what he was, but all the rest of the guys were kind of, here they are. And so it had a little feel for that, to the point that then we're like, wow, how come you're not there every year? And we lost a bunch of championship games. The Bears right now, all their optimism continues to be misplaced. Like last year, remember, they were trendy. Oh my God, they won the last few games. They were 8-9, and the Bears are right on the cusp. And it turns out the Bears stunk out loud. You know, and then you realize that maybe it was Eberflus, it was Caleb Williams, whatever. But all this optimism, like people were high on the Bears. There were people that were ready to put the Bears ahead of the Packers. And lo and behold, they were terrible. And nobody thought the Vikings, they were resigned to the scrap heap. That couldn't happen. They got Sam Darnold. He's terrible. Couldn't win anywhere. Right? It would have been Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings, and the Packers and Bears people thought might have been a horse apiece. So these things are hard to see how it's gonna play out. So the Bears, sure. Do I have more optimism in this new head coach? I don't know. Maybe he's really good at calling plays. He was. Can he do the head coaching thing? We thought the same thing about Eberflus on defense. Turns out he wasn't great. So it's one of the Bears right now. The Chicago Bears to me are, again, they're my Sergio Garcia winning a major example, which is I'm just going to pick against them until they show me they've done it. And with Sergio, it turns out I'm, like 79-1. So, I'm willing at the end to go, yep, I misguided that. I don't think that the Vikings can repeat what they did.
I wouldn't have mentioned the Vikings. I think they were so fortunate in how many games they won late in contests, and you just can't keep doing that. I expect the Packers to finish first or second in the division. I would probably play second, but yes, I just don't think the Vikings can do it again.
And this is where we find out if the Lions were a really good collection, a really good team, or if they become a really good organization. Because all of a sudden now they start taking your players, and you got this guy, and you can't pay everybody. And you got to make the right you got to make the right players that you're going to spend your money on. All those things. I think Campbell's a pretty good guy. I trust, but you just get to see if this organization, like the Packers, since Holmgren arrived, they've only had a couple of spots where they missed the season and missed playoffs twice in a row, and never 3 times in a row. That's an amazing run. Whether we didn't, there's only 2 Super Bowls in there, I know, and there's a lost one and a lot of disappointment in championship games. But to be able to do that over 30 some odd years is pretty impressive. So we'll see right now if the Lions were a good team if they were, this is this great collection and they've had their moment, the window, as they say, or if they'll be an organization that for the next 30 years will have, that window way more frequently that they had the 30 years prior to that.
I wanted to interject one thing about what you said, because people forget Drew Brees and the Saints, great quarterback and a great coach, or one who's viewed as one. Check how many bad years they had. A lot more than the Packers. And I think, again, to me, that's always speaks to the general manager and the quality of the players that they have. But yes, because you easily say, well, you had 2 great quarterbacks, so that's why. But you can find other teams that have had, or in this case, a great quarterback, and they had a number of 500 or so such seasons. It's been an incredible run for the Packers to be in it almost every year.
Listen, even go look at the Cowboys, since people love to talk about them. Look at the last 3 years of Troy Aikman's career. So he still had a franchise quarterback. He showed that he'd won Super Bowls. It was a different time, so he didn't throw for 30 TDs and 4,000 yards. But they had and they couldn't sustain it past that one guy. The 49ers did it. Here's Montana and Young, but Jeff Garcia, he did okay. But then they went through kind of this revolving door of people again, and they had a nice little run there with Kaepernick who went, and then they decided that wasn't it. And you spend all this money on the Trey Lance, and, lo and behold, that guy's not it, because he got beat out by the guy who was the 7th round pick that he came in there. So it's really hard. So I just think that's what you're going to find out with the Lions right now. If they were, they had this great window for a couple years where they had, Goff was on fire and the coach was good and their coordinators were good. They got to play both those people. They got to replace both those people. So I don't know that they're a lock to go ahead and, take that division again. But the Packers have to take a step up in a lot of ways to match what they are, because right now they are not the class of the division.
And I would answer that question very simply. The guy, and I don't even know his name, that has not been mentioned enough with the Lions is the general manager. And that determines how long you can stay good. And I would say, look at the Eagles. Look at the Eagles. Everybody says it's the general manager because they've had different coaches. Look at the Eagles in recent years. I think I'm correct. 2 Super Bowls, 2 different coaches.
Yep. 2 different coaches. It was
Peterson.
Peterson, who then went, and then he went to Jacksonville. And you're right. What did he have there? Was it Trent Baalke who was there in Jacksonville? And all of a sudden you're like, wow, you can't. And you had a super quarterback, or so we thought, and you can't do it.
Yeah. Philadelphia season, they've lost a number of players too. And again, you look back to, well, what do the Packers have to do? Last year, Philly gets 2 rookie cornerbacks. They picked up the unknown kid from the Badgers. Yeah. I mean, they went from.
In his regard, right? One of the big moves they made that made a lot of this happen was They went and made a big move to get A.J. Brown. That made a huge difference, and the Packers have not made something like that, right? That was, when you talk about that, like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe, I guess, for lack of a better term, it would be cool to see them stick their neck out on something. And you know, and they haven't really done that.
Yeah, and I don't.
They have to trade people away, but maybe not to get them in.
I'm not saying that now. That's why I'm giving him 2 more years. The person to wonder about is the new president of the Packers. And, you know, his history is, his life is the 49ers when they were very good.
Oh, and policy, yeah, we'll see if he, you know, because some of that comes too, as you talked about, if this Eagles, you know, I think Laurie as an owner is, you know, pushes for that. He empowers his people to do that. And so they, you know, they make those plays. You know, they won, like, Foles was a backup quarterback, right? He had one phenomenal season that came out of nowhere that he was never able to match. They had Wentz, thought it was great. Turns out Wentz can't play anymore when he's out of these places. You know, yeah. I do think Jalen Hurts is way better than people want to give him credit for. You know, like if you took Jordan Love and said, okay, you could have Jalen Hurts' career right now, would you go, yeah, I think that's what I'd like, because for all the fancy statistics, the biggest one is he seems to win a lot of ball games. Right? Like, that's my favorite statistic, is winning.
Best or very good in the biggest games. I mean, he had the incredible game in the Super Bowl they lost.
Mm-hmm. And he was great in the championship game where he went out and like, I think we get so caught up on, did he throw for 5,000 yards? Did he throw for 40 touchdowns? Like, how about, did he just win? Right? Like, that was one of Bart Starr's gifts. He won. That was his thing. We're going to break and get to the fourth quarter, because I've said this on other shows, and I am very curious to your opinion. The fourth quarter coming up.
The Homer Hour is back after this on 94.5 ESPN. What happens when you mix a 3-time Wisconsin Sports Writer of the Year with a Packers Hall of Famer?
I always loved the line, I'm not here to prove them wrong. I'm here to prove us right.
But that's from a non-petty person. A petty person would never say that.
Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
Is that why Tom Petty was playing when you came back on?
Yeah, that's Matchbox 20.
Kurt Petty.
Catch him from 9 to noon right here on 94.5 ESPN, the Wisconsin On Demand app, and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Hey, it's ESPN Milwaukee's Brad Nortman here with some great news from my friends at Bank 5-9. For a limited time, you can earn as much as 4.8% on one of their CD specials. With 9, 17, and 25-month options, you're sure to find a CD that fits your needs while you earn a great return. It's simply another way Bank 5-9 is making lives better in our communities. Hurry! These high rates won't last long. Check out bank59.com/CD for more details. Member FDIC.
For their accounts payable workflow, Junior Achievement of Wisconsin implemented a document management and workflow automation solution from James Imaging Systems. Junior Achievement Vice President of Enterprise Services, Lori Salzman, highlights the positive impact.
That impact has made it much more streamlined for us to handle the entire process from receiving an invoice to having it paid.
How has streamlining your accounts payable workflow benefited Junior Achievement's mission?
It has allowed us to be more on mission and strategically reach out and expand our impact to be able to reach more students.
If others are looking for workflow automation solutions to better serve their clients or customers, what's your suggestion?
If anybody is looking for a good partner that is there to help find solutions, call James Imaging.
Content management and workflow automation from James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
Ever notice how wine enthusiasts often speak a completely different language? And while that language may technically be English, to most people it's anything but. Hi, this is Marie from Discount Liquor, where we stock over 8,000 varieties of wine and speak many dialects of wine English to help everyone, from the wine novice to the master sommelier. So if you need an expert recommendation for wine, or maybe you know what you want and simply need help locating it, our experienced staff has got your back. No matter the budget, occasion, or your level of wine expertise, Discount Liquor will make you feel at home. Discount Liquor, unmatched selection, everyday low prices, a helpful staff, and 2 convenient locations. In Milwaukee on 51st and Oklahoma, and in downtown Waukesha on Barstow and Maine.
Discount Liquor.
This is Kevin Moret from Mentality. Every day is a silent competition, and with testosterone dropping 1% annually, you're fighting an uphill battle. Your colleagues notice when you lose your edge, your partner senses when your confidence wavers, and without addressing low T, you're set up to fail. No willpower can overcome this hormonal deficit. Mentality's FDA-approved treatments have shown a 30% increase in testosterone levels. Don't let low T define you. Reclaim your power at mentalityhealth.com/radio. That's mentalityhealth.com/radio.
No shortcuts, no compromises, just the job done right. At Exterior Pros, we don't just meet expectations, we crush them. Every nail, every window, every shingle is a step toward your home's next chapter. From the moment we start until that final reveal, we're committed to making your home better than ever. Quality products and craftsmanship you can count on. Go to the pros for your next project. Get started today and save $2,000. Visit extpros.com or call 262-800-4274. That's 262-800-4274.
You're listening to the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
It is the fourth quarter for the John Anderson Homer Hour. I believe that the NBA is now the Los Angeles Lakers and everybody else is the G League. They dominate because there is a historic and fan desire to see what LeBron James can do at his age with Doncic. It's the Lakers, and I'm anticipating everybody in the league because Cleveland is incredibly good. Oklahoma City is incredibly good. The Bucks can say there, and yes, no one's going to notice. Every piece of attention is going to be given, and I would say almost understandably so, to the Lakers. It's the Lakers and the G League in terms of attention in the rest of this NBA season. Agree or not?
No, I do. I'm trying to think how much. Right, like if LeBron and Doncic were in Memphis, I'm just trying to figure out how much of this is the Lakers, right? Correct. As a legacy franchise that matters. How much of this is LeBron? How much of this is the fact that there's now a public spat about his son that's going on? We tend to. What's that?
We'll save that for another show because that's a topic I want to get into.
We tend. I say we because I still have a lot of ties to being ESPN. I still feel like those 4 names are pretty close to my name, or those 4 letters. We have always pushed stars and stars and teams. It's the same reason you hear about the Cowboys constantly when you're like, but they're terrible. Why am I hearing about the Jets when they're terrible? Why do I care about the Mets when they're terrible? Right? So we push the markets. That's where a lot of those people are. I think, though, the NBA itself is driven by stars. It's not just the narrative of those covering the league. I think the league forever has always put its stars on top at the expense of franchises, except for the Lakers and the Celtics. You can sell those colors and those brands almost regardless of who's in there. They've been fortunate; they've had good people in it. So I don't know if it's necessarily the G League, but you do wonder what would happen if you get Oklahoma City and you get the Cavs, because those are 2 really great teams, and I don't know if America would turn off their TVs or not to watch that. For the longest time, the lowest rated World Series back before the attrition of kind of the sport and the ratings in general, was when the Mets played the Yankees, the Subway Series. Woo, we're having the Subway Series. And literally nobody, anybody that did not have a Subway pass could care less. So I don't know if Dennis Mitchell and the Cavs come back and do that. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Oklahoma City can draw. But I do think you're right. There is a desirous effect to have the Lakers be good. And if that can be pushed by the league and if that can be pushed by TNT or ESPN, then they're going to do it because that's going to make money. I don't know if the other ones are G Leaguers, but there's certainly kind of the Laker tier And then kind of the Celtics tier, because they are good in their legacy, but they don't have the same compelling thing going on the top with those two guys. But yeah, if you don't like the Lakers and the stories, then you're not going to really be that wild about the NBA coverage you're going to see from now until June for sure.
And we can finish on that thought, unless you have one final one that you want to leave us with. I don't do this well,
no.
so I should start it.
Give me faith that I should be watching what's happening in the Big East tournament this week.
Yes. Was that fake? I don't.
Like, you're like, help me out with the Packers. You're like, help me out with the Packers. They're going to feel better. Help me out with Marquette.
All right, I'll tell you about Marquette. Shaka has the ability to find something when it doesn't seem like something's there. I don't care about the Big East tournament. I care about the NCAA tournament. I want Marquette to, from nowhere, get to the Sweet 16. That's a great season by the standard of almost every school. By the way, your basketball coach, now that you mentioned it, there's no way he should be at Missouri very long.
You think?
He number one candidate anywhere in the country. Anywhere.
We'll see. He's got every once in a while there's a little hole in his game. Don't forget, a year ago he was 0-19 in conference.
That's the key. The key is he was at Marquette.
When was Gates at Marquette?
1 year. I don't remember. No one remembers, but he was here. You know what?
I will say this. The other day I happened with the podcast I do inside Wisconsin, and we had Mike Kelly on as a guest.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, how did you ever get away from Marquette? You're right there. And we were talking about, like, he grew up and, like, Marquette was his team. And I say that all the time. If you are my age, take away the Badgers' success and what we think now, the program, the college basketball program in Wisconsin was Marquette through and through. That was that way till, Dick Bennett changed it and then it took off. But into the 90s, that was still Marquette was always the kind of the legacy school for basketball. So it pains me when they don't, I need them to take the top 10 ranking they have and carry that through.
So did Mike Kelly?
Could you let them know what's at stake here?
No, we got to go.
See you, bud.
I'll remember these things for next Tuesday. This has been the John Anderson Homer Hour. As I love to say, I don't know what's next, but it isn't as good as this. Next.
Northbound on 43. That's going to be solid, pretty much out of the Marquette all the way up.